You will never believe it. An American company sold a bankrupt steel plant for $1, but China paid a high price of 46 million euros to acquire it. This decision attracted widespread attention at the time, and many people questioned why China would invest in a company that seemed to have no value. Some media even thought this was a stupid move, predicting that it would have far-reaching negative impacts on China. But over time, this once worthless steel plant has completely transformed and developed under Chinese management and investment. China's foresight not only shocked the United States, but also allowed the entire Europe to see the commercial miracle created by China. In today's video, look at what China did to save this bankrupt steel mill. Before getting into the topic, I would like to invite you to subscribe to the Asia Rising Star channel, which will ensure that you don't miss any of our exciting content. Let's get started now. As far as I know, this large steel company called Smederevo Steel Plant was first established by Serbians in 1913. During the heyday of the steel mill's operation, it became one of the largest steel mills in Serbia and was known as the Pride of Serbia. It is understood that the Smederevo Steel Plant contributed 40% of the financial revenue of the city of Smederevo at that time and employed more than 5,000 employees. Despite experiencing 2 world wars, the Smederevo Steel Plant has maintained a good momentum of development. Although the Smederevo Steel Plant has been the industrial pride of Serbia for a long time, with the rapid development of the global steel industry, the technological and management gap between the plant and the world's advanced steel plants has become wider and wider. Coupled with the increasingly fierce competition in the international steel market, the plant's production equipment and processes can no longer meet market demand. Due to poor management, the steel plant has suffered losses for many years. Finally, in 2002, the Smederevo Steel Plant declared bankruptcy, ending nearly a century of glorious history. At that time, the Smederevo Steel Plant was declared bankrupt, but it still had considerable value. Subsequently, American companies were willing to spend $33 million to acquire the steel plant. But in terms of operations, American companies don't have much patience for this. After acquiring the steel plant, they still use the old operating methods without updating the management system and equipment. Under such circumstances, the debts of Smederevo Steel Plant have increased year by year during the 9 years of operation in the United States. In the end, debt overwhelmed the confidence of American operators. The United States not only suffered a loss of $33 million, but also received no return on various investments in steel plants over 9 years. In order to avoid debt and maintain internal employment relationships, the United States had to abandon the steel plant. In the end, they sold the Smederevo Steel Plant back to Serbia for $1. In this context, all investors are disappointed with this company. After all rich people and entrepreneurs are afraid of repeating the mistakes of American operators. So for a long time, no one was willing to take over this mess. It was not until April 2016 that the steel mill, which had been traded many times, found new life. That is, a Hugong Chinese steel company expressed its willingness to acquire it at a price of up to 46 million euros. This decision directly shocked the United States at the time and aroused widespread comments from the European media. Many people found it difficult to understand China's actions. They even think this is a very stupid decision. In fact, I think many people cannot understand what China is doing. So why did China spend 46 million euros to acquire a failed steel plant? Before China announced its acquisition plan for this steel plant, Chinese companies had already conducted full research on the Smederevo Steel Plant. After the acquisition was completed, China immediately formed the Smederevo Steel Plant Working Group and sent personnel to Serbia to reform the steel plant. However, how to improve the product quality of the steel plant has quickly turned a loss into a profit, becoming the biggest problem facing China. In order to save this backward steel plant, China first introduced a large number of advanced high-tech production equipment and improved the steel production process. This not only increases production capacity, but also reduces part of the cost. The steel mill's operating conditions quickly turned from losses to profits. What many people don't know is that when China took over the Smederevo steel plant, it still had thousands of employees. Generally speaking, in order to achieve profitability as quickly as possible, most multinational companies will begin to lay off employees in large numbers, leaving only employees who can complete production targets. However, after the acquisition, China retained all the employees of the original steel plant and only sent 9 Chinese technicians to the factory to manage it, giving the factory more production autonomy. Thanks to the zero-layoff model implemented by Chinese companies have been well received by the Serbian government and people. This greatly increased the production enthusiasm of workers at the Smederevo steel plant. Finally, under China's 2-year reform, in 2018, the Smederevo steel plant set a production record in 105 years, with output reaching 1.77 million tons. At the same time, Smederevo steel plant's revenue reached $1 billion, making it the largest export-generating enterprise in Serbia. After achieving these exciting business results, China has completely brought new vitality to the Smederevo steel plant that is about to go bankrupt. Even the Serbian president at the time praised China and thought it was a miracle that happened in Serbia. Local media have also reported that China saved the Smederevo steel plant, promoted the economic development of the local city, created a large number of jobs, and brought stable income to local residents. When the time comes to 2022, Smederevo steel plant has created the highest level of revenue since its establishment, and its annual production capacity has exceeded 2.2 million tons. In 2022, the Smederevo steel plant will achieve a steel production of 1.48 million tons, 80% of which will be sold to EU countries, occupying the market of 27 EU countries. This Smederevo steel plant, which has been in decline for many years, has become one of the most competitive companies in the European steel market. The successful operation in China has given the Smederevo steel plant a new lease of life. The revival of this steel plant has not only driven economic growth in the local city, but also created a large number of job opportunities for Serbia and provided a stable source of income for local residents. So, what does the steel factory bring to China? In fact, the steel industry is an important pillar industry in China and is crucial to the country's economic development. The Chinese government acquired the steel plant to expand the production capacity of related domestic industries and ensure the stability of the supply chain. The move also provides China with an opportunity to enter the markets of Serbia and Eastern European countries. Perhaps Americans would not have thought that the steel mill, which once seemed to have no future, would burst into new life after being acquired by China and become one of the top companies in the world. This surprising turn of events may come as a surprise to many. Today, China often provides assistance to Serbia, and diplomatic relations between the two countries are getting better and better. It is foreseeable that this mutually beneficial cooperative relationship will help both countries achieve win-win results and lay a good foundation for greater cooperation in the future.